Hello again, my dear students. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on what time it is that you are watching this video. I am uploading this lecture video as additional or supplementary material to our module entitled Social Constructivism and Multiple Intelligence, which are also topics included or lined up in our subject facilitating learner-centered teaching. So for this particular module, our objectives are as follows. At the end of this module, you are expected to be able to do the following. First, explain Vygotsky's social constructivism theory, discuss the significance of ZPD to teaching and learning, and give examples of manifestations of each of Gardner's multiple intelligences. So let's start with the first of the two topics that we are going to cover in this video, which is social constructivism. The social constructivist theory was proposed or advocated by a Russian psychologist named Lev Vygotsky. In the previous theories that we have already discussed regarding how learners learn, how individuals, how people learn in general, such as the classical conditioning theory, such as the cognitive theory of Jean Piaget, we have learned that learning occurs in people, in us, among learners, by making meaning of their experiences, how they respond to outside stimuli, how they interpret the things, the experiences that they encounter in life. So learning, based from those theories, is rather prompted or driven by internal processes. Vygotsky, on the other hand, emphasizes the importance of the influence of outside forces, such as social and cultural influences on learning. He believes that social and cultural, socio-cultural forces, socio-cultural factors, socio-cultural influences exert a very strong influence on how and what a learner learns. He believed, Lev Vygotsky believed, that the influence of the society, particularly culture, is very strong on the cognitive processes developed or performed by an individual, particularly learners. So he believed that learning is embedded, nakapasok, nakapalaman, naka-depend, naka-insert, naka-embed in a social and cultural context. Meaning learning, as far as Lev Vygotsky was concerned, or as far as his theory is concerned, is culturally based. It is culturally driven. Yeah. That is the whole concept. That is the whole point. That is the central idea of Lev Vygotsky's social constructivist theory. And this will be the focus of our discussion this afternoon. All right. There are three central concepts in Vygotsky's social constructivist theory, which have direct implications for teaching and learning, for classroom instruction. The first one of which is the zone of proximal development, or also known as ZPD, zone of proximal development. Scaffolding and the socio-cultural context of learning. These are the three central concepts, the central ideas, the three central ideas in Vygotsky's social constructivist theory, which directly affect or influence classroom teaching and learning. Let us discuss these central concepts in Vygotsky's social constructivist theory. As already mentioned, the first of these is the zone of proximal development. The zone of proximal development, to cut the chase, is that area in which, meaning this is not a physical area, no? Na masusukat mo ng 10 by 10, 15 by 20, parang lupa ba? This is area, meaning a stage in the child's learning or in the child's development. This is a stage or a point in his learning in which he has trouble solving a problem, he is having trouble performing a task, he has trouble learning a task if he is alone. But if there is somebody, a more knowledgeable person, such as an older brother or an older sister, a more knowledgeable classmate, a teacher, or a parent, who can assist him, who can help him perform the task, solve a problem, or learn a particular task, he can do it. Meaning, kung solo siya, kung siya lang mag-isa, hindi niya magagawa. But if there is somebody, itong somebody na ito yung tinatawag nating MKP, more knowledgeable person. This more knowledgeable person may be a teacher, a parent, a kuya, ate, a classmate who is more knowledgeable than the learner. A friend, basta mas lamang sa kanya ng konti. Lamang sa kanya in terms of knowledge with regards to what he wants to learn. More knowledgeable person. So, if the learner is alone, hindi niya kayang gawin. He cannot do the task. He cannot solve the problem. But if he will be given assistance, if somebody would help him, he can do it. Yun ang ibig sabihin ng zone of proximal development. We say that particular child we made as our example is in the zone of proximal development. Meaning, he is in that point in his learning, he is in that specific stage in his learning where he cannot do a task, he cannot perform a task, he cannot solve a problem, he cannot learn what he wants to learn if he is alone. But if there is somebody, a more knowledgeable person, who will assist him, who will help him, who will direct him, who will supervise him, or give him the kind of assistance that he needs, he can do the task, he can perform the task, he can learn what he wants to learn, and he can solve the problem. Nasa punto siya, nasa stage siya, nasa level siya, na kung tawagin ni Vygotsky ay zone of proximal development, ZPD. Yun pang ibig sabihin nun. Yun ang ibig sabihin ng zone of proximal development. One way of thinking about the zone of proximal development is that it is an area of potential significant advances in a child or adolescent. At this point, at this level, at this stage, which is called the zone of proximal development, the child is ready to learn. It is in this point, it is in this time, it is in this stage that he is ready to master new concepts, ideas, or tasks. But he simply needs help. He simply needs assistance to do so. And that is why it is very important in the field of education, particularly classroom teaching and learning, because it is in the zone of proximal development that teaching usually starts or occurs. It is in the area of or zone of proximal development that teaching usually starts or occurs. One, the child is ready to learn, the child is ready to master, and he already has the ability to learn. He already has the ability to master a specific task. Ready na siya as a learner. However, the most important thing to remember here is that at this point, he needs somebody to help him. He needs somebody to assist him, because if he is alone, he cannot do it. If he is left all to himself, meaning solo lang siya lang mag-isa, hindi niya magagawa. Now, yung more knowledgeable person, this usually comes in the form of the parent or the teacher, lalo na kung nasa classroom. Yun. Okay. So let us try to understand further this concept called zone of proximal development. So, we're talking about learning, no? Learning. This is the purpose of teachers inside the classroom, no? To effect learning, meaning to make learning happen, especially among the learners. And speaking of learning, we usually start with what is known. We usually start with prior knowledge. We usually start with familiar experiences. And then, papunta tayo doon sa what is not known. Para bang yung example natin sa last video, gravity is not yet known among the learners, among the pupils. Hindi pa nila alam yung gravity. Ile-lesson pa lang eh. So, to get there, meaning to introduce that concept of gravity which is not yet known by the learners, the teacher will start with something that is already familiar to the learners, something that is known to them, something that they have experienced before, so that it would be easier for them to assimilate, to absorb the new information, to integrate the new information into the schema. I hope you remember our discussion regarding the schema. No? So ano yung dati na nilang known? What is it that is already familiar to them? What is it that they have already experienced before? That is similar in nature, similar in principle with what is not known, with what they are about to learn, what you are about to teach, what you are about to introduce as new concept. Ano yung dati na nilang na-experience na medyo may pagkahawig doon? Anong ginamit natin example? Di ba magnet? Sir, ano naman ang kaugnayan ng magnet at gravity? Ang kaugnayan po nila, they operate on the same principle, attraction. Magnets attract metals. Gravity is also about attraction. Heavenly bodies attract other heavenly bodies. Heavenly bodies attract each other. The sun attracts the earth attracts the sun. So, magnets and gravity both operate on the principle of attraction. So, yung what is known, yung magnet, ay iuugnay natin sa what is not known, gravity. Ganyan ang direction po ng learning. O you look at the arrow below. Papunta sa what is not known. Of course, yung what is not known will not remain not known forever. That is just the target. Ganda ng pagka-pronounce, no? Target. That's the objective. The objective is for what is not known to become known. Yung dating hindi alam ng mga bata ay malalaman nila. That is the whole point of teaching and learning. How do we facilitate that? How do we make it happen? How do we make it occur? How do we make it easier? Yan pang ibig sabihin ng facilitate eh. To facilitate is to make something easier. It is related to the Spanish word fácil. Fácil means easy. Oh, galing sa Latin yata yan eh. Nadaanan namin yan noon sa Spanish. Fácil. Ibig sabihin, madali, easy. So to facilitate something is to make it happen, to make it occur, to make it easy. So when we facilitate learning, we make learning occur, we make learning happy in such a way that our learners will find it easy. How do we do that again? We start with what is known. Ibig sabihin, yung familiar na sa kanila, something that they have already experienced before, and use that to introduce what is not known. As I was saying just a while ago, what is not known will not remain not known forever. For learning to occur or happen or takes place, what is not known should become part of what is known. Dapat yung dati nilang alam ay malaman nila, and the new concept, the new information should be included in the old schema. So yung schema nila regarding attraction ay hindi na ngayon limited sa magnets. They will now expand their schema of attraction to include heavenly bodies, and this new information will become part of their knowledge. That's learning. Yan. Saan yan papasok itong zone of proximal development? dito po yan sa gitna, yung yellow na area. Yeah. Skills too difficult for a child to master on his or her own, but can be done with guidance and encouragement from a knowledgeable person. These are skills or tasks that are too difficult for a child to master or do alone. Di ba sabi natin kanina, kung solo lang siya, mahihirapan siya talaga and most probably he cannot really perform or do the task. But with guidance, with encouragement, with direction, with assistance, with supervision, with help from a more knowledgeable person, a teacher, a parent, an older brother, an older sister, a more knowledgeable classmate or friend, a peer, whatever, the child can perform the task, learn what he wants to learn, or solve the problem. Yang yellow area po sa gitna, between what is known and what is not known, that is what we call the zone of proximal development. Yun yung level ng bata, no? Yun yung kanyang stage. This is a specific point in his learning where he is a little bit familiar of a concept or a task. So there is already that skill needed to do something, but he cannot do it alone. He needs assistance. Yung point na yan sa kanyang learning, that is the zone of proximal development. Let us give a more concrete example for this. Yung sa mga bata, yung simpleng-simple lang talaga so that we will really get the concept of zone of proximal development. Yung pagsusuot ng sapatos. That is the object of learning. In our model, dito sa drawing natin, yung what is not known, let us represent that as wearing shoes properly. Yung pagtali ng sapatos, yung magandang pagkakatali, balanse, tama, gano'n. So kunyari yung bata ay marunong nang magsuot ng sapatos. In terms of wearing and tying his or her shoes, that is what is already known. Alam niyang magsuot na. Yung suot meaning ilalagay lang sa paa. He will simply insert his foot into the shoe. Naisuot na yung kaliwa. Isusuot ulit yung sa kanan. That is all he knows. Yun ang kanyang alam. That is what is known in terms of wearing and tying shoes. Ano yung what is not known na parte? Ano yung hindi pa niya alam kung ang pinag-uusapan ay pagtali ng sapatos? Hindi pa niya alam magtali nga. Pagkikibag ka tong idahigo, hindi balanse, mas mahaba yung isang dulo kaysa sa isang dulo. Mayroong he misses holes. Hanggat naiakbangan ng mga butas. Yun ang what is not known sa level niya in terms of wearing shoes. Yun ang kanyang kailangang matutuhan. Nandoon na rin yung zone of proximal development sa gitna noon. Halimbawa, yung pagsusuot sa hole, sa butas. Nahihirapan yung bata. Pero kung i-guide ni nanay, nagagawa niya, yun. Yung skill na yon is too difficult for her or for him to do, but without the supervision of the mother, he cannot do it alone or she cannot do it alone. Yung skill na yon, yung pagsusuot sa butas, yung level na yon ng kanyang ng level ng kanyang learning in terms of wearing and tying his shoes or her shoes, that's what we call zone of proximal development. Yung pagsusuot sa butas at pagbalanse ng tali, That's already his or her zone of proximal development. Yung level na yon, yung stage na yon, yung point na yon, siya ay nasa zone of proximal development. The learner, the child is in the zone of proximal development. Bakit niyan importante? Kasi doon ang kailangan niya. That is what the child needs. Hindi na siya kailangan turuan how to insert his or her foot into the shoe and then the other foot. That is already known. Alam na niya. There is no point in teaching somebody something that he or she already knows. As teachers, what do we teach? Things that are unknown to our learners. Things that they cannot do. Tasks that they cannot perform. Problems they cannot solve. We teach them how to solve those problems. Or assist them. Or give them assistance, supervision, and direction to solve those problems. Ganon yun. So, dito sa pagsusuot ng shoestring, yung tali ng sapatos doon sa butas, pagbalansi ng dalawang dulo para pantay, yung magandang pagtali, nobody. The child should not miss a hole. Lahat ng butas ay magagamit. Walang malalaktawan na butas. That is what I'm trying to say here. So, those skills are too difficult kung solo lang siya. Pero nandyan si mama, si nanay, si ate o si kuya na mag-assist sa kanya, magagawa na niya ngayon. Remember, ang term ay assist ha, ang term ay help. Hindi na si kuya mismo ang gagawa para sa kanya. It's not mama, it's not the mother who will do the job of inserting the shoestring into the hole. Ang gagawa yung bata pa rin. But with the assistance of the mother, tutulong lang si mama. Hindi si mama ang gagawa. Gagawa pa rin yung bata. Tuturuan, tutulungan, i-assist, i-help ni mama. Ganon po ang teaching. We do not do things for our students. They perform the task with our assistance, with our guidance. Until what is known, in our example, until wearing the shoes properly is known. It becomes known. Meaning until such time that the child masters the task. And then, at that point, the mother or whoever it is that's giving the assistance will remove himself or herself from the picture. What will be left is the child and the new skill that he or she has learned and mastered. Hindi habang panahon nandoon yung more knowledgeable person. Si mama, si teacher, si kuya, si ate. When the child has learned the task, he or she is left alone. Pag na-master na niya, siya na lang. That is how this thing works. No? Zone of proximal development. So, ganon din sa teaching. Ganon din sa classroom. If there is a skill that is too difficult or a task that is too difficult for the child to master, that is where the teacher comes in to provide the guidance, to provide the direction, to provide the assistance, to provide the help needed by the learner. Because if the learner is alone, he cannot perform the task. He cannot solve the problem. So doon sa zone of proximal development, doon tayo usually pumapasok, mga kapatid, as teachers. So that, yung target ng learning, what is not known will become part of what is known. So the two now becomes one big chunk of knowledge. The new concept, the new information is integrated into the child's stock of knowledge, meaning it becomes part of his or her knowledge. See, this is how this thing works. Okay. Where the learner could be with scaffolding. This takes us to the next terminology, the next concept in Vygotsky's social constructivist theory, scaffolding. Yung zone of proximal development, as already mentioned, is that point or stage or level in the child's learning where he needs help. The assistance, the help, the direction, the guidance that the more knowledgeable person, whether it's a parent, a teacher, a kuya or ate, or a classmate or a peer, yung tulong ba, yung assistance na binibigay natin sa learner, ang tawag doon ay scaffolding. And with scaffolding, the learner can proceed, can reach or can get to where the learner could be without help. So doon sa ating example kanina, ang target ay makapagsuot siya ng sapatos sa isang maayos na paraan without the help of the mother. Yung pagturo ni nanay kung paano magsuot sa butas ng shoestring, no? Kung paano ibalanse yung tali, kung paano itali ng maayos ang sapatos. Yung assistance, yung pagtulong, yung direction and guidance na binibigay ni mama, that is called scaffolding. At ang pinaka-target ng dalawa, the mother, who is the teacher, and the child, who is the learner in this situation, is for the child to master the task of wearing his or her shoes properly. So yun ang kanyang kayang marating nang mayroong scaffolding, mayroong assistance, mayroong direction and guidance, hanggang ma-master until the child fully masters or completely masters the task of wearing and tying his or her shoes without assistance. Sabi nga natin, in the later part, in the end, when the task has already been learned and mastered, all forms of scaffolding, all forms of assistance, all forms of guidance, all forms of direction, lahat ng klaseng help, lahat ng klaseng tulong, aalisin na. Why? Because the learner can now perform the task. He or she can now solve the problem. Okay. This is what we were just talking about, no? Ito yung pangalawang konsepto, no? This is the second central concept or central idea in Lev Vygotsky's social constructivist theory. Bakit pangalawa na tayo? Ano ba yung una? Ang una po ay ZPD, Zone of Proximal Development. Ang pangalawa, scaffolding, which I have just mentioned in passing a few moments ago. Scaffolding is the process of providing a child or adolescent with a good deal of support during the time he is learning something. So the term scaffolding can refer to the process, and the term scaffolding can also refer to the thing, to the assistance that is being given. So yung pagturo ng nanay, pagturo ng mama sa kanyang anak, how to tie her shoes, that is scaffolding. Yung pag-guide niya, pag-assist niya, pag-supervise niya. Anak, dito yan, ipapasok yang tali sa butas na ito. Pagkapasok dito, hihilahin dito, at dadalhin anak sa kabila. All of these things are called scaffolding. And the process of the mother helping, assisting, supervising, guiding, and directing her child is also called scaffolding. As already mentioned, the mother, or whoever it is that is teaching, the teacher in our case, does not remain there forever. The kind of help, the kind of assistance, the kind of direction and supervision, in other words, the kind of scaffolding, is decreased or reduced as the learner becomes adept at doing the task, meaning as the learner improves in performing the task alone, habang siya ay gumagaling sa paggawa ng task independently. Meaning, siya lang mag-isa, parang nag-i-improve na siya. Aalisin na or babawasan na muna sa umpisa yung scaffolding, yung pagtulong sa kanya, pag-assist sa kanya, pabawas ng pabawas. until the child is able to master the tasks. Meaning at this point, he becomes responsible for his learning. Siya na lang ang gagawa. See? Support for a learner can take the form of cooperative learning among peers. One reason why teachers group students into, or divide students into groups during, halimbawa sa classroom na may mga group activities. Bakit yan ginagawa ng mga teachers? Okay, class, please divide yourselves into 5 groups. We're going to have a group activity. Bakit yan ginagawa ng teacher? One reason is for the more knowledgeable students to give the less knowledgeable students scaffolding. Di ba sa classroom, sa klase, hindi naman pantay-pantay ang galing. In a class of, say, 40, the children will have different levels of intelligence. They will have different levels of proficiency. They will have different levels of knowledge. They will have different levels of prior knowledge and experience regarding the task. So what happens? With regards to the task at hand, yung iba, medyo magaling na. Yung iba, katamtaman lang. Yung iba, may konting alam. Yung iba, wala talagang alam. So pag sinabi ng teacher, class, please divide yourselves into groups, into 5 groups. Ang purpose niya doon is for the magagaling to give scaffolding so that they can help their classmates if they encounter certain difficulties in performing the task. Yan, scaffolding. And then later, basta't ang palagi natin ditong tandaan, the scaffolding should not remain forever. It will be reduced gradually as the learner becomes adept, as the learner improves, as he becomes able to perform the task alone. Until later, when he has mastered the task, he will work on it independently. Meaning he can already do the task, he can already solve the problem without any help, without any assistance, without any guidance, without any direction, without any supervision from somebody else. Kaya na niya na gawin ang task ng mag-isa. At this point, we say that he has completely learned, completely mastered the task. Now, the third concept. Bakit third? Sir, ano ba yung nauna? Kulit niya eh. First, zone of proximal development. Second, yung katatapos lang, scaffolding. Third, socio-cultural context of knowledge. Sir, ano yung tatlong yan? These are the 3 central ideas or central concepts in Lev Vygotsky's social constructivist theory. So pag-usapan po natin itong pantatlo. As I mentioned at the beginning of this video, Vygotsky stressed or emphasized the importance of society and culture. Kaya nga tinawag na socio-cultural context, the socio-cultural influence of the socio-cultural factors that influence learning. Society, culture, kultura natin. He really believed that these are very important factors in learning. He believed that these played very important roles, crucial roles, vital roles in how people learn and think. He emphasized further that cognition, Nungalit yung cognition based from our previous discussions. Cognition is thinking. Cognition can also be interpreted as learning, no? Because cognition refers to how we think, how we process information, how our mind works, in other words. And this occurs in a context. Context means circumstances surrounding a phenomenon. Context. Kumbaga, pinaka-background ng isang pangyayari or ng isang phenomenon. Context. Pwede rin pinaka-environment. Yung cognition is situated. Ibig sabihin, class, our interpretation of things, our interpretation of ideas depends on context. Depende sa sitwasyon, depende sa environment, depende sa pinaka-background ng mga pangyayari. No? Pinaka-background ng pangyayari. Pero bang ganito, halimbawa, mayroong nagnakaw. Nakaw ng pera sa tindahan. Without any context, some of us may make harsh judgments right away against that person. Ang sama-sama talaga ng taong ito, magnanakaw. Bangyaing tao, nagpanakaw. Kriminal ito, dapat ito ay bitayin itong mga taong ganito. Because all we know is that he stole money. No context. Napakinggan mo yung balita. And now, you already have a context, meaning you have additional information regarding or pertaining to his act of stealing. So based from the news, you found out that the man is poor. He has a family to feed. He has a wife. He has 4 children. Small children, maliliit pa yung kanyang mga anak. And they are really very poor. He just lost his job as, halimbawa, nawalan siya ng income because he's a jeepney driver. The news report further said that he was not really a regular driver. Extra lang siya. Kung may bakanting jeep, biyahe siya. Kung may magkasakit na regular driver, biyahe siya. Ganon ang kanyang buhay. Nagka-COVID. Wala na siyang income, wala nang trabaho. Wala siyang ipapakain sa kanyang family. At he is really pushed to the wall. He is pushed to the to a corner, a very tight corner. In other words, wala na siyang ibang choices. He does not have any other option. He does not have any other choice. He has only one thing left to do, to steal. Nagnakaw siya kasi pambili ng pagkain ng kanyang family so that they will not die of hunger. Are we going to have the same harsh judgment against this person? Di ba mag-iiba ang ating tingin sa sitwasyon? Mag-iiba ang ating judgment. Bakit? Because of the context. Ibig kong sabihin, class, alam na natin ngayon yung background ng pangyayari. We already know the circumstances regarding the pangyayari, regarding the fact that he stole money from a store. So dati, ang alam lang natin, siya ay nagnakaw. Walang context. Walang background information. We do not know the circumstances surrounding his pagnanakaw. All we know is that he stole money from this store. So what do? We make harsh judgments. masama siyang tao, magnanakaw talaga, dapat bitayin. So, our knowledge of the context, meaning the background information, meaning the surrounding circumstances, made us change our judgment. Ganon po ka-importante yung sinasabing context. Thinking, learning, occurs within a context. Dapat mayroong background information. Dapat mayroong surrounding circumstances. And the background information, the context, should be accessible to the learner. Ibig sabihin, his culture, the learner's culture, will enable him to relate to the new lesson. Baka naman, bagong-bago yun sa kanya, hindi siya makarelate. No? Katulad nung una, grade 1, mag-aaral ng alphabet ng mga bata. Mga bata, our lesson for today, this morning we're going to learn the alphabet. So the first letter in the alphabet is A. A is for apple. Again, everybody repeat after me. A is for apple. Sigawan naman yung mga bata. A is for apple. Sigurado ba yung teacher naintindihan ng lahat ng bata yung mga apple? Yung word na apple, do they have that concept of apple in their minds? Nandun siya sa ika-13 bundok nagtuturo. Walang apples doon. They have never seen a picture of an apple. They have never seen a movie or a TV program showing apples. In other words, they have zero knowledge about apples. Tapos bigla ka magtuturo ng A is for apple. How can the learners relate to that? How can they connect that to their experiences? They have never seen, they have never eaten, they have never tasted an apple. Di ka nakakita, kain pa. See? Walang ka-context doon sa mga bata. In their mind, they will be wondering, buknoy na yung apple. Ewan ko kay ma'am, di ko alam yan. So anong gagawin? Ang gagawin po, yung something familiar with to the learners. Ano yung familiar sa kanila? Siguro mayroong punong atis doon. A is for atis. At least nakaka-relate sila. Yun pala, yung sound pala ng A at sa atis, ayun pala, A pala yun. Maraming atis amin, buknoy. Bangtam is pamanag. Mapagpukites, eksamo, no, boy, kitat atis. Sige. Habang nagtaakyatan sa atis yung mga bata, ano nga, buknoy, ang A is for atis. See? They can relate because the context of the lesson is familiar to them by virtue of their familiarity in their culture, kasama sa kanilang experiences, kasama sa kanilang kultura. Sandamakmak ang atis sa kanilang backyard. A is for apple. Ang apple, hindi nga nila maintindihan. Wala yun sa kanilang kultura, wala sa kanilang experiences. They cannot relate to the lesson. That is the simplest example I can give you, class. No? Situated. Cognition is situated. Dapat siya naka-situate, dapat siya naka-locate in a particular context. Usually, itong context, culture, society. See? Dapat siniling na yung A is for aswang. At least na may mention sa kanila ng kanilang lola pag nagkukwento. Alam niyo mga apo, inyong kami bata, padaming aswang dito. See? At least kahit pa paano familiar sa kanila. Kung apple, lola, ano yung apple? Hindi ko alam, apo. Kasi hindi ako nakikita niya. Saan ngayon magtatanong yung mga bata? Hindi nga kasama sa kanilang experiences yan eh. It's not included in their culture. So, ganun yun. Isisituate natin sa isang context na familiar sa kanila. Parang hawig ulit dun sa magnet at gravity. See? Nilagyan natin ng mga examples na familiar sa kanila. Something that they have already experienced before. So, that's again, Vygotsky emphasized the importance of culture. Yung kultura ba? Now, if it is a new lesson, halimbawa, ang pinag-usapan ay religion. Halimbawa, nabanggit yung ibang religions, yung mga, halimbawa, Islam. Nabanggit mo yung mga holy texts, yung mga Quran. Correlate mo siya doon sa equivalent sa Christianity.
Ang familiar sa atin, sa mga bata, ay Christianity. Ano ang familiar sa kanila na holy text? The Bible. So it is just a matter of saying na kung tayo class ng mga Christians ay mayroong Bible, our Muslim brothers and sisters also have their holy text, yung Quran. Their knowledge of the Bible, their familiarity with the Bible will enable them to understand that the Quran is a holy text to our Muslim brothers and sisters the way the Bible is a holy text for us. That's the whole point. No? Yun lang ang gusto kong makuha natin. No? As much as possible. No? Kung pwede lang naman, kung hindi naman pilit na pilit, i-connect natin siya sa isang bagay na familiar sa mga bata, lalo na yung makikita sa kanilang experiences, sa kanilang society or lipunan, at sa kanilang culture. Okay, words, conventions, symbols, signs, etc. are culture-based. Ang meaning ng mga salita, yung mga conventions, yung mga conventions, yung mga the way we do things, symbols, signs, etc. They are all culture-based. And so when we use these things, the symbols, signs, words, conventions, we should see to it that they are understood by the learners properly. Iba-iba kasi. Halimbawa, mga salita. Words differ from one culture to another. Sa atin, yung ibon, bird, fowl na siya, adult na. In some places in the country, yung ibon, itlog pa lang ang meaning nun. Kalimutan ko kung saang lugar yun na. Ang meaning ng ibon ay itlog, egg, ibon, egg. Ay sa atin, ibon, bird na talaga. Dito sa atin, yung yanggam ay parang kung titingnan natin ay langgam, no? Ant. Bird din yun, yanggam. Ang ibig kong sabihin ay we should be very careful with the symbols, conventions, and signs we use. We should be very careful with the words we use because they are interpreted differently by learnings coming from different social and cultural backgrounds. We should be sensitive to the culture. We should be sensitive to the experiences of the learner. Halimbawa, nadaanan sa social studies yung concept of peace, kapayapaan. Sa isang bata na lumaki sa isang magulong lugar, may mga NPA, may rebelde, palagi nagbabarilan, ibang konsepto niya ng peace. Kaysa doon sa batang lumaki doon sa talagang very peaceful na lugar. Okay. So this is what we were saying from the very beginning of our lecture video. Learning and knowledge are to a large extent culturally and socially influenced. Malakas ang influence, ang epekto ng kultura at lipunan sa learning. Learning and knowledge are to a large extent culturally and socially influenced. Another way of saying this is that the society, our society and our culture exerts a very strong, they exert a profound or deep influence on the way we learn, on the way we acquire knowledge. The same thing happens, the same thing is true to our learners. All right. So to summarize everything that Vygotsky is trying to tell us, learning is strongly influenced by one's culture. All our discussion regarding Vygotsky's social constructivist theory can be summarized. They can be distilled in this single statement. They all come down. All our discussions from the very beginning of this video come down or boil down to this single sentence, to this single statement. Learning is strongly influenced by one's culture. That is the most important thing we should remember about Vygotsky's social constructivist theory. Are you familiar with the quote? It takes a village to raise a child. It takes a village to raise a child. A child learns, a child develops cognitively or mentally, emotionally, socially, spiritually, because of his own personal and innate characteristics, plus the influence of his environment, the society or community he grows up in, his culture, his experiences, lahat ng nakapalibot sa kanya. Yung kultura talagang malakas. By the way, kanina pa natin nabanggit itong culture na we forgot to dissect the different aspects of culture. Ang mga kasama sa ating kultura, yung ating mga practices, mga traditions, they are all part of our culture. Our language, our beliefs, part of our culture. The way we dress as a people. The way we dress is different from the way other nationalities dress. Yung damit ng Pilipino, iba sa damit ng Hapon. Iba naman yung Amerikano. Iba naman yung mga taga-Czechoslovakia. Iba-iba tayo ng kultura. So, we behave in different ways. We think in different ways. We interpret things around us in different ways. That's the effect or influence of culture on our cognition. Kung paano tayo natututo, paano tayo nag-iisip, all of these processes are strongly or profoundly affected and influenced by our culture, by our society, by our environment. Okay? Okay, let's proceed to the next topic we are going to take up in this video. Howard Gardner's theory of multiple intelligences. Gardner's theory of multiple intelligences. Before, or maybe even today, for many of us, when we hear, when we read, when we encounter the word intelligence, what's the first thing we think of? What's the first thing that comes to our mind? Di ba magaling sa school? Academic intelligence. That person is very intelligent. Ang ibig sabihin natin ay magaling siya sa school. Magaling siya sa academics. Generally, that is how people interpret intelligence. He is very good in problem solving. He is very good in analyzing things like events, people's behavior. Yeah, magaling siya dyan. He is really intelligent. Ganyan ang ating interpretation of the word intelligence. Ang pinakamarami ay yung academic intelligence. However, Howard Gardner believed, he still believes, of course, that people possess many different kind of intelligences. Maraming uri or anyo daw ang talino ng mga tao. Human beings, according to Gardner, have 7 kinds of intelligences. And then later, he added a new one. And then later, meron pa siyang idinagdag na isa ulit. So his original 7 kinds of intelligences was expanded to 9. Naging siyam. He even claimed that the number of intelligences can even be greater than 8 and possibly be 9, which he called spiritual or existential intelligence. So the whole point here is that Howard Gardner believed, and many psychologists, many teachers, many people in the academe support or believe his theory. As a matter of fact, Howard Gardner's multiple intelligences theory have become an integral part of every program in education. Basta kumuha ka ng eduk or anything that is related to teaching, any program, any degree that's related to teaching, you will really discuss or take multiple intelligences by Gardner. Talagang nadadaanan yan. So, let's talk about this. No? So marami pala tayong forms of intelligence. They are called intelligence because they require certain skills. No? They require a set of mental or intellectual skills. Kaya intelligence ang tawag sa kanila ni Gardner. Okay, so let us try to answer this question. What are the different kinds of intelligences according to Howard Gardner? Ano yung original na 7? And what are those 2 that were added later? Here we go. According to Howard Gardner, our intelligences include verbal linguistic, logical tapusin muna natin yung kanyang lang pag-akyat. Verbal linguistic, logical mathematical, visual spatial, bodily kinesthetic, musical rhythmic, interpersonal intelligence, intrapersonal intelligence, and naturalist intelligence. Sabi nga natin kanina, later mayroon pa siyang idinagdag na isa, yung spiritual or existential intelligence. Pag-usapan po natin ito one by one. Let's start with the verbal linguistic intelligence. What kind of intelligence is this? Verbal, knowledge about verbs. Di ba? Words. Language in general, no? Verb. Verbo, yun. Verbo, salita, word. Are you familiar with that verse? No? The first chapter of John, no? Verse 1. Ang verbo ay naging Diyos. Verbo means word. So verbal linguistic intelligence. Verbo, words, language. Yeah. These are people who has that ability to use language effectively. Yeah. These are people who possess high levels of linguistic proficiency. They are good with words. These are those people who can really speak. They are very good at organizing ideas. They are very good at expressing their ideas. They are very good at finding the right words, the right expressions to express an idea in such a way that the idea can really be understood by the listener. They're very good at choosing the appropriate words, beautiful words with which to express what's in their mind, to express their thoughts, to express their feelings and emotions. They're very good at putting into words what they have in their mind or what they have in their heart. Merong mga taong magagaling talaga magsalita, no? And write, speak and write. There are people who can really write very well. Kaya nakaka-encounter tayo ng mga articles, kahit sa Facebook, ang galing magsulat ng taong ito. Beautiful expressions, beautiful words, beautiful sentences, beautiful thoughts, beautiful feelings and ideas put into paper, put into words. Ang galing niya. These people, according to Gardner, and according to his multiple intelligences theory, possess verbal linguistic intelligence. Magaling sila sa grammar, no? So, in general, they are good in oral and written communication. These are people who show greater linguistic intelligence. So, sila yung mga magagaling sa language, magagaling magsalita. They are very articulate about many things. They never run out of words and expressions with which to express their ideas. Yung mga teachers, mga announcers, preachers, ministers, priests, politicians, they are very good at speaking. No? They can speak to a crowd and not feel nervous at all. Tayo ay magsasalita lang, magre-report nga lang sa harap ng klase, nervyos na. Good afternoon. May report. Tapos biglang collapse na. Sobrahan ng nervyos. Ganun, no? Or, there are those who cannot, lalo sa mga medyo, mga critical na presentations like magde-demo, magde-defend ng thesis. Meron ninenervyos dyan. Hindi na makapagsalita sa sobrang nervyos. Okay? But people with verbal linguistic intelligence do not experience that because they know that they can express themselves. Then we have logical mathematical intelligence. Kung merong magaling sa words, meron ding magaling sa numbers. People who possess logical mathematical have great facility with numbers. They can easily process numbers and they can easily solve even complex mathematical equations or mathematical problems. They are very good at problem solving. They really have that logic, that reasoning ability to see through a complex problem. So solve nila. They are very good at the science of numbers. They can easily solve number problems and they can easily generate or come up with logical solutions to problems. Logical, magaling sa logic, magaling sa reasoning. Logical, mathematical, magaling sa numbers. No? Hindi lang yung fundamental operations, kundi pati yung mga complex mathematical problems, mathematical equations, kayang-kaya nila. No? Magagaling itong mga tao ito. Believe ako sa mga taong magagaling sa numbers, magagaling sa mathematics. When I was in high school, I was an average, I had average proficiency in mathematics. Yung grade ko noon sa math ay pangpasa lang talaga. Pangpasaryang talaga. Yeah. Pero yung ibang classmates ko magagaling. Isang example ni sir, isang example ni ma'am, kuha ka agad nila. Ako ay matagal. Parang kasi char ko pag-answer. Saan ang galing yun? Anong ginawa doon? Ba't gano'n ang char ko makalipar? Char yaki ka to. Sige, alam. Okay. So, to make this short, logical mathematical intelligence refers to our facility with numbers. Refers to our proficiency with numbers. Kung ikaw ay magaling sa numbers, magaling sa mathematics, magaling sa logical reasoning, you possess this logical mathematical intelligence. Sino itong mga taong ito? Ay di yung mga engineers. Pag engineer ka, you are expected to be good in numbers, no? Nakagraduate ka ng engineering, nakapasa sa board exam. Conclusion, you are good in numbers. Yung mga accountants, numbers din ang tinatrabaho niya, no? All professions that require the processing of numbers. Kuminsan, mga programmers at damakmak din ang numbers niya. Mga statisticians, they deal with numbers. Mga negosyante, they deal with numbers. Bili ka ng yero. Ilang piraso, ilan ang presyo. Compute ka, ganito ang babayaran ng uncle, 21,733 and 37 centavos. Hamagina. Magagaling sila sa numbers. No? They can easily process numbers. Magaling mag-isip when it regards to numbers. Those people possess what we call, or what Gardner called, logical, mathematical intelligence. So, itong verbal linguistic, good with words, language. Logical, mathematical, people who are good in logic or reasoning and numbers. Ano naman itong susunod? Visual, spatial. Spatial, from the word space, S-P-A-C-E, space, noun yun. Spatial is the adjective for the spatial. Tama, adjective. No. Spatial. Spatial intelligence. Yan. Intelligence pertaining to the use of space. Spatial. So, in that expression, spatial acts or is used as an adjective describing intelligence. So, visual, spatial intelligence. Ano naman ito, class? Kung yung verbal linguistic intelligence refers to one's ability to use language, logical mathematical refers to one's ability to use logical reasoning and numbers, visual spatial refers to the ability to appreciate works of art like paintings and sculpture. Visual. Vision. Bakit visual? Ano bang ginagawa natin to appreciate art? Halimbawa, painting. What do? Hap-hap? We grope? No. We use our vision. We use our sight of seeing, visual. So, people who are good in painting, people who are good in sculpture, who are good in architecture, people who are good in photography, ano ba yung mga arts na kailangan ay visual? Visual arts. Photography, maybe we can also include handicrafts, no? Kasi kailangan din maganda yung kanilang aesthetics. Visual, spatial. Ano pa, paano namang napasok itong spatial? Astronaut na? De. Art is related to manipulation of space. Halimbawa, interior decorating. Kailangan ma-manipulate mo yung space. Halimbawa, loob ng bahay. What do we do with this? Halimbawa, ako interior decorator, what do I do with this space to make it beautiful? To improve or enhance its aesthetics. So what do I do? Well, lagay ako ng center table, lagay ako ng kung anong dekorasyon dyan, lagay ako ng indoor plants, marami sa Facebook. Basta bahala siyang i-manipulate, i-design yung space na available para sa kanya. The result is his or her art. Ganun yun. So art involves manipulation of space. Kaya spatial intelligence. So, as we can see here, people who possess visual spatial intelligence are those who are good in painting, all those who are good in sculpture, all those who are good in photography, in architecture, and in other forms of visual arts, including interior decorating, and other forms of art which involves the manipulation of space. Meron akong napakinggang kurso yung landscape architecture. Yan. Diba ang architect nagde-design ng mga buildings, mga tulay, kung anong structure. Ito naman siya ay pang landscape siya. Yun ang kanyang pinag-aaralan. Landscape architecture. That is also a form of art. So if you are good in that kind of art, so you possess this visual, spatial intelligence. Meron naman tayong tinatawag na bodily kinesthetic intelligence. Bodily movement, kinesthetic. This is all about motion. So bodily kinesthetic intelligence refers to one's ability to move. In what way? Lahat naman tayo nakakagalaw, but not everybody can move in a coordinated way. Just like how athletes move, how dancers move. Makakwan sila, magandang tingnan because they move very gracefully. They move in a very coordinated way. Yung mga athletes, yung alimbawa, yung mga gymnasts, ang gandang tingnan ng mga gymnasts. Yung mga sabay-sabay silang kumikilos. Nakalimutan ko yung pangalan ng laro na yun. Parang synchronized swimming. Para silang sumasayaw sa pool, sa tubig. And they are synchronized. They move at exactly the same time. Mga tatlo sila or apat, but when you look at them, they move like one person. Talaga, sabay-sabay, very well coordinated. And all they have to do, and all they have as their guide, as their prompt, is a piece of music. See? Very coordinated, very graceful, timing na timing. These people possess bodily kinesthetic intelligence. Si Manny Pacquiao, magaling na athlete. He possesses bodily kinesthetic intelligence. Magaling kumilo si Manny Pacquiao. Very graceful as a boxer. He has very good footwork. Very well coordinated. Umaatras na siya, palayo, nakakaiwan pa ng isang magandang right hook or left hook. Akala ng kalaban, paatras siya. Yun pala, may maiiwan na left hook. Sumunod yung kalaban, huli siya sa panga, tulog siya. You look at that. Hamak na mo gana. Ay kita, how do you move? Very lousy. Very uncoordinated. People who possess bodily kinesthetic can become very good dancers because they have that innate grace in their movement. Yung ibang dancers, kung tingnan mo, ang ganda tingnan talaga. Basta very graceful. We know, when we are watching dancers, we know which one is graceful. Alam natin, even if we do not have knowledge of, even if we do not have a technical knowledge about dancing, we can still appreciate somebody who dances very gracefully. Kikita natin na talagang very graceful. Ang galing sumayaw ka ako ng dancer na yun. Very graceful. Those people possess bodily kinesthetic intelligence. Halimbawa, mga basketballista, they need intelligence. Nakakita ka ba na ng basketball player na hindi nag-iisip while playing, pakadribble yung pakashoot? Ang ganon. Basketball players, aside from their athleticism, aside from their speed, aside from their stamina, aside from their grace in movement, they use their intelligence during the game. Because when playing, they do not just run, they do not just dribble, they do not just shoot, they also strategize. They also psychologize their opponent. They look at their behavior, they look at their movement, and try to determine what the opponent will do. See? Wala namang basketballistang pakadribble yung pakashoot yan. Mamalay sida. Doon pala siya nag-shoot sa ring ng kalaban. Shoot try ko na ako. Shoot nga, isa kalaban naman ang bilang. Naperde tuloy kayo. See? Naperde tuloy kayo. talo, tuloy kayo. Hindi nag-iisip paka-dribble, paka-shoot. So, ganun. Athletes use their minds, their intelligence when playing. So, hindi lang puros galaw yun. So, we can really understand this, that this is a form of intelligence. Plus, yung movement nila, very coordinated, very graceful. Gandang tingnan, no? So, yung mga magagaling sumayaw dyan sa inyo, my dear students, you possess what we call bodily kinesthetic intelligence. In the same way na yung mga magagaling sa inyo sa language, those who can express, those who can write, those who can speak, those who can compose songs, those who can write poems, those who can write beautiful love letters, kasi language din yun You possess verbal linguistic intelligence. Alam ko marami sa inyo. Marami din sa inyo ang magagaling sa numbers at saka sa logic. You possess what we call logical, mathematical intelligence. Meron kayo niya. Yung sa inyo, yung iba naman sa inyo, magaling sa drawing, magaling mag-sketch, magaling mag-paint, magaling mag-sculpt, magaling sa photography. You possess visual spatial intelligence. Yun namang may pagka-athletic. Yung magaling sa boxing, sa basketball, or other forms of sports. You possess what we call bodily kinesthetic. Yung mga magagaling sa inyo na mga dancers. You possess bodily kinesthetic intelligence. So if you're not good in mathematics, do not commit suicide. You have your own intelligence. You have your own skills. You have your own talents. You have your own intelligence. Magkakaiba-iba tayo ng mga blessings. No? Yung iba, magaling sa words, magaling magsulat. Mahina naman sa numbers. Yung iba naman, mahina sa numbers, magaling sa words. Or, even if you are not good with words, you are not good with numbers, magaling ka namang painter. Or magaling kang athlete. Or, itong ating panglima, magaling ka sa music or things that involve rhythm. Musical, rhythmic intelligence. These are people who have the ability to appreciate and produce music. Yung magaling sa music, magaling sa rhythm, no? They have a very good sense of rhythm. Katulad ng mga musicians, mga singers, mga composers, mga conductors. Buko kalitong sa bus or sa jeep nagpapanukot at pamasahe. Ang ibig pong sabihin dito ng conductor, yun pong sa symphony, yung sa orchestra, yung sa, halimbawa, sa jazz band. Meron conductor yan, yung nagbibit sa gitna, so that everybody will keep proper timing and they will know when to play, when to stop, when to play loud, when to play soft. They look at the conductor so that they will see how they would play. Yon. Halimbawa, oras na ng keyboard mag-solo. The conductor will signal to the rest of the band, to the rest of the orchestra, to play very softly or not play their instrument at all. Ang maririnig na lang ay piano because at that particular point in the piece, it's time for the piano, for the pianist to go or play solo. Paano malalaman ng drummer, ng bass player, ng guitarist, ng saxophone player, and other players of other instrument, how do they know that they need to stop now? Tumitingin sila doon sa conductor, doon sa nagkakandak na sa gitna. Kumbaga, siya nagdadirect ng pagtugtog. Yan ang conductor dito na tinutukoy ha. Hindi yung conductor sa jeep or conductor sa bus. So, musical rhythmic intelligence. This is the kind of intelligence that we see among musicians. Sina Fred Aguilar, kilalang mga bagong singers. Puro oldies lang ang alam ko Yung aming henerasyon eh. Eric Clapton baga, mga John Denver. These are very good composers, no? Sina Bon Jovi, yan, inaabot namin, aming henerasyon yan. Sina Ele Buendia, yan. Yan po ang music ng aming henerasyon. Eraserheads, yan, Eraserheads. At saka yung mga banda ng 90s at saka 80s. Like Guns N' Roses, yan. Yan ang music namin. Na Eli Buendia. Sa mga folk singers naman, sina Heber Bartolome, sina Florante, Oritha, Asin, yan. Asin. Bob Dylan, Neil Young, yan pang inabot na namo na klase at music. Simon and Garfunkel. Yung mga bago ngayon, hindi ko kilala. And I am not familiar with their songs. I'm not familiar with their music. Composers, conductors, basta yung magaling sa music, magaling sa, mayroon silang innate sense of rhythm. These people, according to Gardner, possess what he calls musical rhythmic intelligence. Okay. So yung magagaling sa inyo sa music, you possess musical rhythmic intelligence. Okay? Ano pa yung susunod na intelligence? Interpersonal intelligence. Interpersonal. Relationship with other people ito. Relationship with other people. People who have interpersonal intelligence are sensitive, meaning they can easily feel the behavior, the moods, and needs of others. Madali silang makaramdam ng mood, ang behavior. Madali nilang maramdaman what other people feel. They are sensitive to that, no? Interpersonal. These are people who usually become helping professionals. Ang trabaho nila ay yung mag-comfort, magpayo, give advice, katulad ng mga counselors, mga guidance counselors, mga social workers, ministers, preachers, priests, mga nagpapayo-payo dyan sa radyo at sa TV. Dear Tia Deli, tandang-tanda ko pa ang lahat. Ating gabi noon, matindang sikat ng araw, panahon ng hapon. Yan. Tapos mamaya, papasok si Tia Deli. Ito ang inyong Tia Deli. Help. Sorry. Sila ako. Kain muna ako ng strepsils. Napapasok naman ako. Matagis ito. Helping professionals. Mga caregivers. Madali silang makakomfort ng tao. People can easily relate to them. People can easily open up to them. We easily trust them. Merong mga taong ganon. The first time you meet them, parang ang gana ng pakiramdam natin towards them because they can feel their sincerity, they can feel their warmth. We can feel that they really care for us as persons. Merong mga taong ganong class. I have already met people who are like that. I meet them the first time and I feel that they are really very, very warm, very welcoming. They are affectionate, they are very caring. No? There are people who exude that kind of aura. No? They simply earn our trust by just being themselves. Ganun yun. They have what we call interpersonal intelligence. Counselors, social workers, ministers, priests. Di ba? Halimbawa, yung mga pare, mga preachers, mga ministers, di ba madali natin silang lapitan? Mga pastors, gano'n. So magaling sila sa pag-establish ng mga relationships with other people. Madali silang makawin ng tiwala ng mga tao. And then what we call yung interpersonal relationship with other people. Yung susunod nating form or kind of intelligence ay intrapersonal. Itong interpersonal relationship is relationship with other people. Intrapersonal, our relationship with ourselves. These are people who have the ability to understand themselves. Ay, siyempre ko no, sir. Sarili kalin ako. Magkaintindihan kami. Alangan ko no, sir. Magsuntukan ako sa akong sarili. Well, sometimes we come in conflict with ourselves. Alam nyo ba yan? Sometimes we come in conflict with ourselves. At many points, at several points, or at certain points in our life, there are instances when we are torn between two things. Gusto natin gawin ang A, gusto din natin gawin ang B. Gusto natin si number 1, gusto din natin si number 2. Kung minsan may number 3 pa, at mayroon pang number 4. Hamakin mo yan. Pero pag intrapersonal, if we have that intrapersonal intelligence, we know our strengths and weaknesses as a person. We have that stability of emotion. We are really in touch with our inner selves. Yeah. We are able to identify our strength, and we are very good at choosing our goals in life. If we possess intrapersonal intelligence, we understand ourselves, we identify our strength, and we are very good at choosing or selecting our goals or objectives in life. We really know what we want. We really know how to go about getting it. Oh. Di ba nalilito tayo in terms of what we want sometimes? Graduate ng high school. Ano kaya ang gusto ko? Kunin ko nursing kaya o teaching o business? Hindi ko alam eh. See? That person is not in touch with himself or herself in terms of her goals in life. Pero pag mayroong intrapersonal intelligence, alam ka agad kung ano ang gusto niya sa buhay from the very beginning. Gusto kong maging teacher. Enjoy ako sa pagtuturo. Gusto ko yung nakikita kong ginagawa ng mga teachers. I like their profession. I like to become like them. See? Maliwanag na maliwanag yun sa kanyang isip. There is no conflict. Intrapersonal intelligence. Yan naman sa naturalist, yung sa Milas, no? Dati ito kasi dinagdag lang, dati kasi yung original 7, di ba, sa discussion natin kanina, ito ang original. Verbal linguistic, logical mathematical, visual spatial, bodily kinesthetic, musical rhythmic, interpersonal intelligence, intrapersonal intelligence. These are the 7 original intelligences according to Gardner. Later, he added the naturalist intelligence, which refers to the ability to be attached to the natural worlds. Ito yung mahilig sa nature. No? Being able to discriminate between the flora and fauna. Flora, yung mga tanim, vegetation, mga halaman, bulaklak, kahoy. Flora yan. Fauna, animals. Flora and fauna. Patterns and designs of human artifacts. Pati yung mga fossils, mga naiwan ng mga instruments, mga tools, mga bahay nung una na pinag-aralan. They are very good at this. They are in tune with nature. They find to commune with nature. In modern lingo, ito yung tinatawag nilang mga tree huggers. Hug, from the word hug. H-U-G, hug. To embrace, yun ang meaning ng hug, di ba? Let me give you a hug. Ibig sabihin ay, let me embrace you. So, yung mga tree huggers are people who love trees. They do not really, literally hug trees. Di naman sila lumalabas, naghahanap ng kahoy, at saka yakapin yung kahoy. Hindi naman ganon. Ang ibig sabihin lang dito, class, is they really love trees. And by extension of meaning, they love nature. They love the environment. Yan. These are people, and they are one with nature talaga. They really understand how these things work, and they have deep knowledge and understanding and appreciation of things in nature, whether they are plants, trees, flowers, animals, whatever. The environment, ecology, the biodiversity of things that live in the environment, things like those. Yan ang gustong-gusto nila. Yan ang alam nila. At yan sa mga bagay na sila interesado. These people possess naturalist intelligence. Yung mga biologists, mga environmentalists, mga ganun ba? So, kayo, kung mahilig kayo sa outdoors, mahilig sa nature, mahilig sa mga tanim, uso yan ngayon, mga plantitos and plantitas, no? On hand, 1,750 lang po. Try siya. Naturalist intelligence, mahilig sa nature and the natural world, whether it's the flora at fauna. Basta. So sabi natin kanina, so originally, the first seven, the original seven are or were verbal linguistic intelligence, logical mathematical, visual spatial, bodily kinesthetic, musical rhythmic, interpersonal, and intrapersonal intelligence. These are the seven original intelligences according to Howard Gardner. And then later he added the naturalist intelligence. And then still later, Gardner added one more, yung tinatawag na spiritual or existential intelligence, which simply refers to the spiritual things, existential, things that transcend the material or substantial world. So yung mga mahilig sa mga, halimbawa, yung mga spiritual things, religious things, they have in their minds, they have a clear understanding of, halimbawa, life after death. Yan yung mga interests nila. The spirit world, or the world of spirits, the world of the supernatural, the world of powerful beings, things pertaining to God, things pertaining to religion. Yan. Yan ang kanilang interest, and their skill, their talent, their intelligence lies there. These people possess what Gardner called spiritual or existential intelligence. Yan. So, yan ngayon yung hindi na 7, kundi 9 na. These are the different kinds of intelligence according to Howard Gardner. Anong importance nito, class, sa atin as teachers? Why is this important in the field of education? Ano ngayon kung ganyan? Ano ngayon? Ano yan sa buhay ko as a teacher? Or sa buhay ko as a future teacher? Understanding that there are different forms of intelligences will lead us to also understand that our learners, our pupils, will manifest, will show, will demonstrate different forms of intelligence. They will differ in skills, they will differ in talents, they will differ in proficiencies because they possess different kinds of intelligence. And they will possess or show different levels of these different kinds of intelligence. Yung isang bata na magaling sa language, doon siya magaling. Let us give him opportunities
let us give him learning activities that will further hone his skills or talents or proficiencies in the verbal linguistic domain. Kung average lang siya sa mathematics, ay huwag natin siyang pagalitan. No? Huwag namang approach natin, kaya-ayo ka sa English. Hindi ka naman pala magaling sa mathematics. Kigihapon ka, panis ka. Wala namang ganon. Nagkataon na yung intelligence ng bata lies with his verbal linguistic ability. Doon siya magaling eh. Huwag nating ipwersa sa kanya yung ibang intelligence. Yung ibang bata naman, doon naman sa logical mathematical. Dito sila magaling. Average lang sa verbal linguistic. So the same thing. Let us accept them as they are. Let us accept the kind of intelligence or skills or proficiencies that they have. Let us provide them learning experiences that will be fun to them, exciting for them, meaningful to them. Let us make learning as much fun as possible to them. And one way of doing that is by tailoring our classroom learning experiences to their intelligences. Hindi naman, of course, ibig sabihin dahil hindi siya magaling sa mathematics, bababayaan na ng todo ang mathematics. Sige, English ka na lang ng English. Hindi ka naman magaling sa math, huwag ka na mag-aral ng math. Hindi naman po ganon. Dapat holistic pa rin yung ating approach, no? Ibig kong sabihin lang, huwag natin silang pwersahin to demonstrate or show, illustrate all of these forms of intelligence. Ay, genius ka to, kagidalabas, no? So, ganun yun. Individual differences. This will come down to individual differences. Each learner is unique. Each learner is special. Each learner possesses his own set of personality traits, character traits, kind of intelligence. He possesses his own set of skills, talents, and proficiencies. If you have in a class of 40, sa klase mo may 40 students ka, may 40 pupils, then you will be dealing with 40 personalities. Iba-iba ang talino niyan, iba-iba ang temperament, iba-iba ang talent, iba-iba ang skills. They have different interests, they have different needs. So you will have to deal with that individual differences among learners. Ganon ang classroom eh. Hindi pwedeng eksakto, identical sila. 40 pupils, magkapareho lahat in all aspects of their personality. That does not happen. Walang ganun. So, having students or learners with different characteristics is already part of our jobs as teachers. Ihanda na ninyo ang inyong sarili, no? Prepare for yourselves for this. You will encounter different kinds of learners who will show or manifest all kinds of behavior, all kinds of intelligence, all kinds of talents, different kinds of interests and needs. Iba-iba yan. As you teach, you will find this out. You will discover this. Iba-iba ang ating mga estudyante. Walang pare-pareho. Kambal nga, nagkakaiba ng ugali. Yun pang hindi kambal. Okay? So, we have come to the end of the road once again, my dear students. We will end our discussion here. I just would like to remind you, this lecture video is additional material or supplementary material to our module, which I have already uploaded in our group chat, entitled The Social Constructivist Theory and Multiple Intelligences. No? The Social Constructivist Theory by Lev Vygotsky and the Multiple Intelligences Theory by Howard Gardner. I hope that you have learned something from this lecture video and from our module, of course. No? I hope that I have imparted some knowledge and some understanding about these topics, about these concepts. When you become teachers, you will realize how important these concepts are in our profession, in our job as teachers. So, as already mentioned, we will end there for the meantime. Of course, there are more upcoming videos because we still have topics to take up in the future. More modules. Modules is life. Module is life, sabi ng mga estudyante.
Ganon din po ang sabi namin mga teachers. So, goodbye for now, my dear students. And as I always say at the end, ingat po tayo lahat. Let us all stay safe. And God bless everyone.